What will your storyline be in 2018 now that the holiday rush is over? LegalZoom can help you make this a memorable year before all the distractions take hold. Make this the year you finally get serious about launching and running your business. Rest a little easier knowing your family's future is squared away with the right estate plan. LegalZoom has been helping people like you take care of their dreams and responsibilities for more than 16 years. They're not a law firm, but they have the resources to keep you on the right path, including advice from their network of independent attorneys, all at your fingertips. Whether you want to take your business to the next level or take control of your family's future with an estate plan, LegalZoom plugs right into your life so you can take care of the things that matter most. Get off to a strong start in 2018 at LegalZoom.com today and get special savings when you enter Golic in the promo box at checkout. LegalZoom, where life meets legal.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Tuesday morning after the national championship game in college football where Nick Saban and Alabama got one for the other thumb. His sixth national championship, one of those obviously coming at LSU. 5 in the last 9 years. Unbelievable. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Kirk Herbstreit, who called the game on ESPN last night on television, will join us in a little bit to talk about the game, and we'll get to him in a few.
And so obviously we'll break down the game. Let's look at this thing overall.
Let's do it.
With the win on Monday, what this class, this 4-year class just did. The 4-year run by this class, 2014 to 2017. They have 53 wins. It's more wins than any other school that has in a 4-year span. 53 wins. And they beat out the 2013 to 2016 Alabama 4-year of 51 wins, which beat out Alabama's 2012 to 2015 of 50 wins, which is tied with some other schools as well, Clemson, Ohio State, Boise State as well. 53 wins, 2 national championships, been to all the been to playoffs and 3 title games. The other they lost in the semifinals. It's incredible. It's incredible. If you don't have like that's the thing about 5-star athletes right now is what you look for. A, you love to win on the college level and be holding up the trophy at the end of the year. You want to play and you want to play in the NFL. So what's your best road for all of that? And sometimes some of the top players that they don't think they're going to play for a while at Alabama because they have other top players, they'll go somewhere else to play a little earlier because these guys' clock runs right away. And these top guys, they're going to be there for 3 years. That's why there's not a ton of redshirting that goes on at Alabama because of the talent you get there. Greg McElroy was on earlier with us, said on the field last night were 18 true freshmen who have given significant time on Alabama's roster this year. 18 true freshmen, which means you will wonder how many of them will be 3 and done. Maybe they'll be 4. And on the other side of that, there were 3, count them, just 3 5-year seniors, 5th-year seniors on that team. So that's how they build them at Alabama. You get these guys to come in. They're good enough to play right away. They play, they win, and they get prepared for the next level. And quick comment and congratulations to Bradley Bozeman, the center. He was one of those 3 5th-year seniors, right. The center for Alabama. After the game, it's viral everywhere. You can see it on social media everywhere. He goes down on one knee and proposes to Nikki Hegstetter, I believe is her last name, Nikki Hegstetter, who goes to Alabama as well. And he proposes to her on the field wearing the national championship hat, wearing his complete uniform on one knee, proposing to Nikki. Very cool scene. She said yes, which was good as well. You never want to see that one go wrong.
Especially after the championship
That's
game.
Exactly
that would have been
right.
really bad.
So I would say he gave out a ring that was a little more important than the ring he's going to be receiving pretty soon.
Well, everybody gets the ring they wanted. Let's put it that way.
Exactly right.
Everybody got the ring they wanted last night
cool.
in that situation. And to your point about the freshmen real quick, again, if you think Alabama's going away, this is bad news for you. The leading rusher, the leading receiver, and the leading passer in terms of yards last night for Alabama, all freshmen. We'll get into that a little bit later with Kirk Herbstreit, but let's start with what's trending. And in the NFL, the Bears have named Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy as their new head coach. The team announced on Monday. Nagy, 39, replaces John Fox, who was fired after posting a 14-34 record in 3 seasons.
Yeah, again, a former quarterback at the University of Delaware, a Blue Hen, a quarterback in the Arena League for a little while. I think I missed my time with them. I did some with Mike Adamle, Arena, and then I did some with Greeny later on. I think it was in the time between, so I don't believe I covered him in the Arena League. He was a quality control coach for a while when he got into coaching in the NFL. Then I think the first time he was on like an assistant coach, I think was in Philadelphia. And here he is, the head coach for the Chicago Bears with a nice young quarterback in Mitch Trubisky, a team they're going to build around, give him some weapons around him, and see where they go. But you figured that was the direction they were going to go, was an offensive guy. You had John Fox, who was a defensive guy, and now you want to help. Not to say that you have to do that, because a defensive head coach could hire a really good offensive-minded coach to bring along Mitch Trubisky, but they decided to go to the offensive side of the ball with Nagy, and he'll be introduced today as the Bears head coach. 39 years old. Got to love it.
Absolutely, and that leaves us with 4 openings in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals, where Bruce Arians retired. Detroit, where they let go Jim Caldwell. Indianapolis, where they let go Chuck Pagano. And the New York Football Giants, who, of course, let go Ben McAdoo during the season. Continuing with what's trending, and I find this fascinating, and I know you're a huge Olympics guy.
Yeah.
North Korea agreed Tuesday to send a delegation to next month's Winter Olympics in South Korea, according to Seoul officials, as the bitter rivals sat down for the rarest of talks at the border to discuss how to cooperate in Olympics and improve their long-strained ties.
Listen, the last thing in the world I'm going to get into is anything political about this, but we always hear at times about how sports can bring together. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying this is going to do that here, but it's better than hearing they're not going to send a delegate to the Olympics because they're bitter rivals and they want nothing to do with one another. So just the fact, because we've seen it. Hell, my brother could have been a part of that if he wanted to try out for the 1980 Olympics on the wrestling side of it. He didn't, because you couldn't be a professional athlete, and he got drafted in 79 by the Patriots. But then we ended up not going to those Olympics. So sports can be used sometimes, unfortunately, as a wedge or a political move. And anytime sports can be used to say, okay, let's do this, so they can go there and be part of it. It's certainly better than the alternative. So I don't know where it goes from here. I'm not even going to begin to talk about what may go on there. But that's a hell of a better sign than we want nothing to do with your Olympics. We can't stand you. We won't even want to deal with you. And they're going to send some delegates there. And good for the athletes that they get to go. They're the ones working and want to compete, and now they'll get to compete.
At the end of the day, you want athletes to be able to perform on their brightest level, which didn't happen for the U.S. Olympic team in 80 or the Russian Olympic team in 84 because they reciprocated the boycott here. So, again, politics aside, you just like to see the best athletes have a chance to compete on that level, which is the Olympics. By the way, Kirk Herbstreit, we'll get to him in just a second. He's brought to you by Allstate, the official protector of college football fans. Are you in good hands? And we finish up what's trending with today at 3 o'clock Eastern. Jon Gruden will be introduced as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and there's no truth to the rumor that he'll come in on one of those Roman things that they used to carry, showering him with gold and doubloons and cash as he gets a 10-year, $100 million deal.
They won't do that.
Go in with Vegas, though, right?
They won't do that because he has direct deposit. So they don't have to shower him with that stuff. Listen, this has been reported so early on by our Adam Schefter and then so many others, and he's finally back coaching, and we'll see, because there's a lot of excitement. Obviously, he's back with the Raiders again, the excitement while he's in Oakland, the excitement of him being the head coach as they go to Las Vegas. There's a lot of people saying, great, he wins 54% of the time. Whatever, okay.
It still got you $100 million.
No, it did. So. But I mean, from away from the money side of it, of we'll see which way he goes. But I know there's a lot of excitement in Oakland, and you know who the only people that you care about it is the Oakland Raiders and the people out there, because they're the ones bringing him in. And let's see what he can do. He's certainly, the cupboard isn't bare, that's for sure. With that quarterback,
and his cupboard isn't bare.
No, it's not. Always goes back to the money for you.
Show me the money. Yeah. What was it, Jerry Maguire? We'll get more on Jon Gruden a little bit later when Keyshawn Johnson joins us, one of his former players. But we are joined now by our college football analyst extraordinaire, Kirk Herbstreit, who called the unbelievable game last night between Alabama and Georgia. And Herbie, listen, we've talked about this all morning with a lot of people. You had the great insight, by the way, in your production meeting to ask about Tua and might they go to him in the national championship game. And Nick got a little kerfuffled, for lack of a better term, when you brought that up. But when you saw Tua take the field to start the second half, what was your first reaction?
Well, first, I thought we might see him. I didn't know when. But as the game was unfolding in the first half, like the way it did, and Alabama's offense was so one-dimensional, I thought, we're definitely going to see him in the second half. And then when Tom Rinaldi asked Nick when he was going off the field some questions, and he made a comment about, we're just can't get anything going offensively. I don't want to put it all on the quarterback. It's almost as if he was setting the stage, and when we came back up to the booth, I was like, all right, get ready for Tua to come into the second half. There's probably going to be a good chance of it. And then, I don't know, guys. I mean, you guys have been around sports, a lot of different sports, and watched it. Have you ever seen a young man come into a game and not only change the complexion of the game, provide a spark, but do it in the manner in which he did it? I mean, it's like he was just, I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never seen a freshman quarterback come into a game in that setting and make the plays that he made. The execution was incredible, but to think what was at stake, to think the way he was kind of carrying himself, that one shot when he threw the interception, and he's got his receivers that are blocking for whatever reason, and he still throws it. It's an interception, critical moment in the game. He comes over to the sideline, and we show him with his arm around Nick Saban's neck. And no quarterback's ever done that. He's almost like, oh, my bad, man. I don't know what I was thinking. That's on me. That's on me. I'll bounce back, coach. My bad. And I'm just like, most guys run to the other end of the corner of the team zone, and like, maybe he won't yell at me if I hide over here. I'll just blend in with everybody else. He just came jogging right over to him, and I don't know, it was just such a different feel for the way he played, and you imagine the future of what he can do next year and beyond.
Well, Herbie, sometimes, and you know this as well as anybody, sometimes people just don't know they're not supposed to feel a certain way when they're right. That young, and he certainly had that. But I thought, that play was after the play I'm going to ask you about. I thought the one play that really settled him down after the first 3 and out was the scramble on 3rd and 7, when it sure looked like that he was going to get tackled by 3 Georgia Bulldogs, and somehow they all bounced off each other. He runs back to the left, picks up that first down, and they eventually get their first touchdown. How important was that play to keep that drive alive for him to sort of get into the feeling of the game?
Turning point in the game. That play was the turning point in the game, because not only did he make that play, it led to their first touchdown. And I think, as you said, it kind of just settled him down. He just was able to go out and just not just make plays. It was the tempo that they went to. Brian Dable did an incredible job working with him, and I think they sensed, we finally got something going here. So they put their foot on the accelerator. They recognized an opportunity, and they were able to strike. But that third down play. Not only you pick up the yards, but I think it showed everybody, because he's known as a distributor, known as a great passer. And watching him there, it was like, whoa, this guy's an athlete. This guy's got, you can see how big his core and his legs are. And he's not just some quickness, but the physicality as a runner and a scrambler. And I think it changed Kirby and the Georgia defense. They're over there thinking, this is different. And I think it made Georgia start to scramble. And then it gave, obviously, Alabama confidence that they could start spreading the ball around and showing what a great group of wide receivers they have. I mean, that's the thing. You think Alabama, you think of, they're a running team, great defense. No. Top to bottom, their wide receivers are exceptional. And we just don't really know that, or the public doesn't know it, because you just haven't seen those receivers provided an opportunity to make plays. And last night in the second half or in overtime, you're able to see it.
How about the other side, though? That was still the Georgia offense, the same Georgia offense in the first half going against the same Georgia defense. And with basically 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, they put up 20 points. They're up 20-7. And so what in your mind happened there? Because after that touchdown, it was interception, 4 punts, and then that was the end of the game until they got to overtime. Did you see anything different from Alabama offensively? Or defensively, I mean.
Yeah, I think, probably because you played and can really appreciate this. Maybe the average fan doesn't know this. How often have you seen a game where not only does a quarterback provide a spark to the offense, the defense gets a little bit of, whoa, we got a shot here, and I think they start to play a little bit differently. I didn't necessarily – we talk so much about Jake Fromm, and I thought Jim Chaney, the play caller and offensive coordinator for Georgia, and Fromm, boy, they really had it going in the first half. And I thought in the second half, I don't want to say that Jim Chaney got conservative, but there were times where he got a little bit, maybe a series or two, where he looked like they started to run the ball a little bit more and maybe work a little bit of clock. And maybe they were looking over at the other side thinking, Tua's providing a little bit of a spark. Let's be smart. The other thing, you got to give credit to Jeremy Pruitt and Nick Saban. We brag so much about Kirby making adjustments at halftime, but I thought Alabama, between Tua coming in providing a spark, and I thought the defense got some confidence, and Alabama got some momentum. And you know how it is in football. When you get a little bit of momentum, that can do wonders for your defense. And I thought it allowed them to start playing with more confidence and with a little bit more of an edge to them that was missing, I thought, in the first half.
Kirk Herbstreit with us, our college football analyst who called the national championship game on ESPN for us between Alabama and Georgia last night. And Herbie, look, Mike and I have sort of been batting this around, and I think we know the answer to the question. But if you're one of the 4 NFL teams that still have a head coaching opening, how do you not at least inquire about Nick Saban with the line that, hey, we can provide you with the one thing that you haven't had the opportunity to do in your coaching career, in your illustrious career, have success at an extended level as a head coach in the National Football League?
Well, I think because he and his agent, Jimmy Sexton, make it very, very clear that he's happy in the college world and has been for 10 years. And, I think, it's not as, I guess you don't hear it as much in the last year or two, but go back to 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, every year, Giants jobs open, Jets jobs open, this job's open, Nick Saban. And I think he finally just turned down so many jobs. People were like, wow, I guess he's not going to come to the NFL. And I think, sometimes a guy just fits in a certain spot. He's done so much in his career. He coached at Michigan State. He was at LSU. He got that itch, went to the Dolphins. I think he and Miss Terry kind of felt that world, and it wasn't as if they thought, wow, we can't be successful here. Let's go to college. I just think it was a lifestyle. I think they miss being around a college campus. The Alabama job came open. They made it pretty special for him financially, and not only that, they kind of gave him carte blanche. Whatever it is you need, let us know. And it's just a great fit, and it's one of the great dynasties that we've seen in sports. And I think at the end of the day, he's happy, and I think he's wise to be able to recognize being happy, even though he doesn't necessarily always look happy. He is happy. And I think because of those past experiences in his life, I think he's smart enough to say this is a good thing. And his next step, his next chapter, to me, will be in the media. I think he'll be either sitting on College Game Day, or I think he'll be calling games. I think that's an itch for him potentially down the road. I think he really enjoys when he comes on our show, almost like a little boy, when he comes on and he gets a chance to do it, and he'll get done with the segment, or he's like, "What do you think? Hey, how'd that go? How was that? How was that? Did you think it was okay?" And I was like, "Man, you killed it. Are you kidding me? You're E.F. Hutton. Like, people want to hear what you say. It's phenomenal." And I just think he's interested in that side of it, but not right now. I think he's happy. He wants to keep competing. He's tired. I was with him after the game in their locker room for about a half hour, just alone with him with a couple other people, and kind of congratulating him. And he's very misunderstood on the outside because of some of his interactions with the media. But I don't want to say never, but I can't imagine he'll ever go to the next level in the NFL or go anywhere else for that matter.
I don't think he will either. I'm wondering if teams are still going to make the call. By the way, I love the E.F. Hutton reference. I know Golic did too. I'm not sure if 90% of our audience did. Herbie, we're dating ourselves with some of these references, man. I thought it was gold, but I'm not sure. A lot of people like Google # what is E.F. Hutton? Oh, Herbie, you're the best, brother. Great job in the call last night. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Take care.
No doubt, a large part of the state of the Alabama is indeed flying like an eagle tonight after a 6th national championship for Nick Saban, 5 at Alabama in the last 9 years, with that unbelievable comeback in the second half as they outscore Georgia after halftime and into overtime 26-7. As Nick Saban once again wins another national championship. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our next guest, Keyshawn Johnson, who's on ESPN LA Mornings with Keyshawn, Jorge, and LZ. Keyshawn, of course, the number 1 pick of the 96 draft, 814 grabs and 64 touchdowns in his career. Just give me the damn ball. The uncle to Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas. And a guy that played on a team that won a Super Bowl for Jon Gruden. And he joins us now on Golic and Wingo. Key, how are you this morning?
What's up, Wingo? With all that said, I'm not LeBron James.
Yeah, I know. That's much respect I have for you.
Wouldn't we all like to be for a day, though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Listen, you're the same in my book. That's all I'm saying, Key. And I'm running with that. So lots to get with you today, and we'll get to what Mike has done. And can't guard Mike. He's been unbelievable this year for the Saints. But Jon Gruden going back into the NFL after a long time away. Your thoughts on what Raider fans should expect?
Well, I think they got they got a good coach that has coached in the National Football League for a very long time, won games, won the Super Bowl, appeared in the playoffs. He's going into a good situation. And oftentimes both Mike and you, Wingo, have seen coaches sit out, pick the right spots for the right type of teams and makeup to go back to. And he's going into a good situation. Money aside, I mean, just look at the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line is intact. They need to get back physical and strong again. They need to find a running back somewhere because I think Marshawn Lynch time is truly up in the National Football League. On the perimeter, they have receivers. They have all of those things. And then when you look on the other side of the ball, the back end struggled a little bit for them. They had a young defensive line. The linebackers seem to be intact. So he's going to surround himself with coaches that have been in the NFL. He's going to pluck from different systems, guys that contracts are up, that understand the West Coast system and the things that he wants to run. So the Raiders are certainly getting in a good situation right here. He's getting into a good situation. Now let's talk about the money.
Let's talk about the money.
Now let's talk about the money. I mean, I don't know what the true numbers are going to be, but whatever it is, that's the marketplace, and he set the market. So when you talk about in excess of $100 million, 10 years, we don't know what's in that contract. We don't know if there's an out in 5, or out in 4. We really don't know because we don't know the body, the language that's in the deal. But whatever it is, it was enough to entice him to leave from television to go back up to Oakland for a couple of years before he has a big party in Vegas.
Yeah, and let me tell you, nobody could blame him for wanting to do that. Let's cover the other side of it, though, Key. What about those that say, okay, we understand why he would take, if it's 10 for 10, that deal, but why would Oakland do that, give him that much money for a guy who, as people say, has won 54% of his games and been out of the game for, 8-9 years? Why do they do that?
Well, I think you go back to what I said earlier, Mike, is you put a system around him. He goes and he plucks these assistant coaches from other teams that either work with him and he has some familiarity with. He has familiarity with Reggie McKenzie. He knows that. So that's not going to change for him. He'll grab guys that have coached with him before or somewhere along the tree, take a guy from Sean Payton, take a guy from Sean McVay that he gave to Sean McVay in Greg Olsen, the quarterback coach that potentially could be joining Jon Gruden. So when you start to look at that, he's been away from the game 8 years, but has he really truly been away from the game? I mean, he do the little goofy quarterback camps or whatever that deal is, but he's also studying film.
Hey man, don't knock the swim noodles, okay? Don't knock the pool noodles, Key.
But he also has been a part of Monday Night Football, so he has to prepare. And I'm sure as a coach, it doesn't leave your DNA. All these guys, Bill Parcells, he leaves the game for a little bit, but he's still coaching. I talked to Sean Payton yesterday on the phone he wouldn't let me off the phone. I was having a conversation with him for 25 minutes and I had to ask him one question. But he's coaching me, talking about my nephew, but he's coaching me and I'm like, Sean, I don't play anymore, but I understand what X-stick looky is. And it's like, I get it, but that's coaching. That's what they do. And so, I think I personally think he'll be fine. The one thing that I honestly admire about Jon from his first time around as a coach in Tampa Bay when he was coaching me, he has matured as a coach because he understands that he's going into a different situation. This is the millennial kids now. They're not gonna put up with you screaming and yelling at them and acting a certain way. It's a totally but he understands that. And as long as he understands that and he's grown from whatever mistakes he's made in the past, he'll be a better coach for that.
Well, that was the only question I had, so I'm glad you answered that because that had been brought up to us a couple of times. Keyshawn Johnson with us, part of SportsCenter Special today at 3 o'clock on ESPN about the Raiders hiring Jon Gruden. Most people know him as Key. I call him LeBron. But along those lines, do you think he'll be able to make that change and be able to deal with that? Because that was the one thing, he loves veteran guys, Key, as you well know. You think he'll be able to manage that adjustment, no problem?
I think he will be able to because the guys that are around him, again, the personnel people like a Reggie McKenzie or some of the other coaches that have been in the league detached from him will be able to explain that to him. And remember, he was the rock star. He was Chucky. He was I'm the blonde, pretty boy with the blue eyes. I just won a Super Bowl. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. It's changed now. It's no more come from the Raiders, take a team to the Super Bowl, and no one can tell me anything. It's not like that anymore. And the money has changed. Just think about it. If the Raiders go south in the next, let's say they go south for 3 or 4 years or whatever it was they coaching, they can cut bait and swallow the money because the money is so big now that they just won't blink and they'll get out of here. It's almost like college sports now. It's like, never mind. We'll eat that. And that is what it is. So I just not having anything to do with the money. I just think his maturity level from a coaching standpoint has evolved from just sitting around and watching over the last 8 or so years.
All right, let's stay in the NFL, but to a guy going into the NFL, and that's Sam Darnold. Obviously, you a former Trojan out there watching USC play, what this kid did last year, and then how that came into this year with all the hype and what happened. Where's the line to you on your thought with him of so many people say maybe he should go back to school, but if you're going to be a top 3 pick, why the hell would you go back to school? Where do you see his development of where he is right now?
Well, Mike, and I know, why would you go back to school if you're a top pick at all? Whether
right.
It's top 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, because you'll never get that money back.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you risk so much to happen to your body, all of those sort of things where you never get the opportunity to fulfill your dream. There's nothing wrong with chasing your dream. I personally think he's ready for the National Football League. Now, he needs some cleaning up. Everybody does. You needed it. I needed it. We all needed cleaning up. But I think if he goes to the right system, in the right situation, and the coaches really coach him up, then he could maximize his talent. But does that mean running from Cleveland? That doesn't mean run from the Cleveland Browns because we truly, really don't know what's wrong with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe it is the fact that they need a quarterback, or maybe it's the fact that they need somebody else calling plays. We really don't know what that is. But as far as his talent level goes, I like a guy that can move around. I don't want a guy that stands there as a tall refrigerator if I'm a general manager and getting smacked upside the head with a weak offensive line. I like guys that can create on their own. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. I want guys that can slide in the pocket and move around. I don't necessarily need Cam Newton, but I certainly need somebody that can get out of a way of somebody barreling down and coming and get them.
Keyshawn Johnson with us, who's on ESPN LA Mornings with Keyshawn, George, and LZ. And, of course, he'll be part of our Sports Center coverage tonight at 3 o'clock Eastern in the afternoon, noon on the West Coast with Jon Gruden's hiring back in the NFL. That's the news today. Obviously, we got the playoffs coming forward, Key, this weekend. And your nephew, Mike Thomas, has been absolutely on fire, has broken the record for most catches through the first 2 seasons in an NFL career. And I remember your quotes about him when he was being evaluated coming out of Ohio State, and you had the line which I think has been proven true. You said, and I remember reading this and studying up for the draft because he was a second-round pick. You said a lot of players think they're number one wide receivers. Mike is a true number one, as in he will get the ball in the toughest situations. Watching him grow up, because he is your nephew, when did you know that he had that ability to not be, as you said, not a fake number one, but a true number one receiver?
Well, I think watching him, as you said, grow up, his drive and dedication to becoming successful told me that he really wanted it. He wanted to be good. I mean, he'll never say he wanted to be as good as me or better than me, but certainly having people in your family that has played or gone or climbed the mountain to the highest level certainly gives you that vision and that sight line to attack. And I think that was something that he watched, and he watched me growing up as a player, and he said, I'm going to catch him and I'm going to pass him. And I remember he used to always tell me as a kid, send me some film, let me see. And I used to be like, man, leave me alone, I'm too busy. And so he would download stuff on YouTube, but you could just tell. He was a lot like me. I didn't need somebody to tell me to go run the bleachers in high school by myself. He would do these things without somebody. And his dad as well would just drop him off at the gym, pick him back up when he's done, all by himself. Not me, not his dad. He just did it by himself. So when it was time for him to come out of Ohio State and go into the pros, I have a relationship with Sean Payton, and Sean was losing Marquise Colston, and I said, do you want to replace him? He said, yeah, why, what's up? I said, shh, be quiet, don't say anything. Best receiver in college football is Michael Thomas. Just trust me on this one. Sean said, okay. So Sean went, worked him out, did the whole deal, and just said, don't say anything. Be quiet. Shh, don't say. I said, don't worry about it. I'm not. And the next thing you know, the moment that they had an opportunity to grab him, they were going to take him in there. I think they were going to take him in the late one, but there was no buzz of him going high in the twos. So Sean just kept it quiet and snatched him up, and the rest is history.
Literally history.
Yes,
the most catches the first 2 years of his career, and the Saints this year are the first team in 25 years that have 2 running backs and a wide receiver, and that wide receiver being Michael Thomas, all with over 1,200 yards from scrimmage. Key, we appreciate you stopping by this morning, and we'll see you this afternoon on ESPN and the Sports Center special about the hiring of Gruden. Thanks for being with us, my man.
No problem, buds.
Golic and Wingo here with you, rolling through the day after the national championship. And look, there's a lot to get into in that game. It was an amazing performance by Georgia that came up just short, an amazing comeback with the gutsiest call of all time to go to the freshman quarterback Tua Tagovailoa at the half, and he rallied them for 26 points after halftime, outscoring Alabama did Georgia 26-7 after the break. But there were some things that were missed in that game, Mike, and some people are saying a couple of missed calls, including one in particular, had a big effect on whether or not Georgia won that game. And while they were missed, if you look at the one in particular that's getting the most attention, if you apply it correctly, nothing would have changed.
That's exactly right. A lot of people pointing to the block punt where Georgia was called offsides, and they weren't offsides.
It was not offsides.
It was a great timing of the snap. And it was a block kick, and it would have been a block kick, and boy, that could have changed the dimension of the game, no doubt about it. But on that play, there was an Alabama player, one of the upbacks, who moved. It was illegal procedure. So if you're going to complain that you want it called correctly, and your guy, if you're a Georgia fan, wasn't offside, then you want it called correctly that there should have been a flag for illegal procedure. You know what that means, Georgia fans? No block punt.
Right.
Means the play never happened. Means they're blowing the whistle. Illegal procedure, move it back 5, and you're punting the ball again. So you may sit there and say you should have got the block punt, but if you want to call it correctly, it was illegal procedure, and that punt never would have got off anyway.
I mean, the best way to look at it, the refs botched it so bad that it actually turned out to be what it should have been.
Yeah.
Because it was an offsides, they had to replay the kick, and if they had called it correctly on a false start, instead of moving them forward 5 yards from 4th and 8 to 4th and 3,
right,
it would have moved them right back to 4th and 13. Now, the face mask,
they
should have called that.
Face mask,
they should have called that.
Absolutely missed. Faced with a 3rd and 21. DeAndre Swift ran for just 4 yards on the play, but appeared he got his face mask pulled. It didn't appear he did.
He did. Absolutely, he did.
So it would have been a first down. No doubt about it. They
what
missed
was the
that
score
one.
in the game at that time?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I do not know then. But they flat out, they absolutely missed that one. And should have got a first down out of that. Not the first or last time something's going to be missed, but they missed that one. And then there was, on the second and 5 in the third quarter, Alabama's Mack Wilson he sacked him and then shoved him in the back of the head a bit after the sack. I'm not getting caught up in that. My God, there is just no chance that I'm worrying about that one. You know, did he push him in the back of that after he sacked him, pushed him some? Yes, but to me, I'm not throwing a flag on that. So you want to get on me for that? Fine. Go ahead. And then another big play is the 4th and 4, the touchdown.
Yep. The
touchdown pass when 4th and 4 from the 7-yard line, when Tua throws the touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley. At the bottom of the screen, there is an Alabama player that looks to be moving early, just a hair before the snap. That if they probably could have called that. It's so close to the snap of the ball and him moving that maybe the ref thought the ball was already moving from the center when he moved. I don't know. It was close. It looked like he could have been. It wasn't one of those, oh my God, it's unbelievable miss. It was pretty close in that one that if they threw the flag, I could have understood it as well. That was a big scenario because that now would have made it, 4th and 9.
Right.
And they did throw the touchdown pass there.
But if we're being honest, if you go back to the Rose Bowl, my guy, the internet sensation, Rodrigo Blankenship, completely false started on a field goal in overtime. And, if they'd called that one, he probably would have made the kick over again. So look.
Listen, there are plays missed every game.
Exactly right. The one that you can point to that should have been called was the face mask.
Without a doubt.
And that would have given them a first down.
Yes, it would have.
And it might have changed things. Absolutely. But the one that I think sticks in people's craw is the block punt. And if they had called it correctly, the exact result would have happened.
Russ would have been blowing the whistle, and he never would have tried to punt the ball and had it blocked because there would have been illegal procedure, back it up 5, do the whole thing.
So
again.
Basically what transpired basically would have just happened again.
Exactly.
I know that's tough to take, but at the end of the day, if you want to get the call right, the same result would have happened. The block punt never would have happened, and instead of moving forward Alabama 5 yards, they just would have moved them back 5 yards. Look, we have this feature called Protecting the Lead, which is brought to you by ADT. Georgia didn't exactly protect their 13-point lead last night, but ADT can help you protect your home. Are you considering home security? Well, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. So obviously, we'll continue to talk about the national championship game and what it means for both Georgia and Alabama going forward, as so many freshmen, including both quarterbacks at the end of the game, were on the field and contributing greatly. And one player who wasn't a freshman that might have played his last start for Alabama, and the way he handled a very difficult situation. We'll get into that in the next hour. We'll also get up and get more into the NFL. The playoffs are coming up. We've got Jon Gruden, as we talked about with Keyshawn Johnson, being officially introduced today. We'll get more into that with our front office insider, Louis Riddick, on the new head coach of the Bears, and a guy that played for Nick Saban in Cleveland.
That's right.
Would he think teams in the NFL should maybe make that phone call, even though we don't think they're going to be successful? We'll deal with all of that when Louis Riddick joins us next. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got one gig. I suck up dirt, so pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too, and an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding? I can't even do corners. Uh-oh, choking hazard.
Popcorn kernels.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.